Hello, everyone. We are the Deliverance Church at the River Youth, and we welcome you to our online service today and discussion. My name is Samuel Obizi. I have a wonderful panel here. They are going to introduce themselves from my left.
Praise God. Mi naitwa Hassan Sankale, Youth Pastor Deliverance Church Kitengela.
Hi, my name is Grace Mutunga, Youth Member Deliverance at the River.
My name is Telan Zisa, a youth member right here, Deliverance at the River.
Praise the Lord. Jeff Masibo from DC Kitengela.
Thank you. Karibuni sana. Feel welcomed as we have this conversation. So today we are going to discuss about how a youth can cope with suffering amidst of adversity. It's a wide topic. I know you have a lot to say about it. So it's an open flow. So you will not like limit ourselves. It's a discussion, and wherever you are at home, you can join in maybe by sending maybe a question, maybe reaching us through the inbox, and we'll be able to answer you. So guys, so we will start like, what is suffering? What's maybe suffering? What's pain? Is it to you, my panel? Anyone can start. Maybe Jeff, you can start it for us.
Nilikuwa nashangaa. Our point anyway. I think to me suffering basically inamaanisha I know suffering means different to depending from ni nini ume go through, but generally suffering ni anything that bring out pain, bring out uncomfort in an individual. So una feel ni kama it's like you're in distress or in despair, or you're just in an uncomfortable situation. So you could say that you're going through suffering. You're not in a position that you wish to be. So yeah.
Maybe if I can add, I think that is a good definition of suffering. Something else is you've mentioned challenges. For me, I think challenges are it's either positive or negative. It can be on either side depending on how you take it. I think it's a matter of how you face something. You can see it as a challenge positively or negatively. So some challenges are to make you a better person. Some challenges, are actually affecting you and making you feel like you're a bit low. You're going through something that is hard for you. So I think challenges is something. How you take it is what makes it to be either positive or negative.
I also think that it's vital that we add the psychological aspect of suffering. Yeah, the way it affects the way probably you see yourself, the way you see life, the way you relate with others, and that's why people would even bring up the issue of mental health. Yeah, because after some type of suffering, you find yourself maybe coiling back from the society, or even from your friends, or even from God. Right? Yeah. And that's just being real. Yeah. Because some suffering leads us there. Yeah.
So if I may ask, what's the worst, maybe the worst suffering or challenge that you've ever faced? What's personally?
Personally, there was suffering actually. I can say I've gone through too much suffering, but the worst was my sister passing. She passed in the year 2015. She was my older sister actually. But the effect that I had after was the worst. Actually, I was depressed, but I didn't know I was depressed because I was running away from anything that reminded me of her. But at that time, I didn't know I was depressed. I came to know after like around 5 years. So what I noticed when you pass through something, we tend to hide in something else. Like Christians, we tend to hide our depression in the participation we're doing in church. We don't want to talk about it, but we're just hiding in church. Because according to what people think, Christians are supposed to be perfect and they're not supposed to, like, they're supposed to be strong because God is there and because you're in church. It's like hautaki kupitia ugumu kwa sababu mimi ni Christian. So that actually took me almost 4 to 5 years, me hiding in church. Yes, you're there singing, you're there participating in church, but when you go home, you go back to that life that nimepitia hii na hii na niko sure sijapona bado. So what I can say from mine, we just stop hiding in church. We should accept that mimi siko perfect na napitia through this and this. Yeah.
Hassan, what's your take on that? Maybe.
Well, I think as Jeff mentioned, that suffering has a very wide scope because, as you can see, unfortunately for my sister, that was what she suffered. There are other people who are having different challenges. We have friends who, for them, suffering is not having money. You know, when you do not have money to do something that is, you know, that's a challenge. There are some that even in this current situation we're in as a country, there are those who are actually suffering from lack of food. That is also, you know, a kind of suffering. Kuna ule mwenye anatafuta job, yana feel that is part of suffering. So I think suffering is very wide, but the thing that is there, as for me, I think the main, the challenging bit of suffering is the fact that you're being a Christian and you're a youth at the same time. The kind of pressure you get from all sides. Unajua kama leo tulikuwa na wewe busy, tulikuwa mabeshte, kesho nikiokoka na wewe uko umeokoka utaniangalia na macho tofauti. You see? So mabeshte wangu kuna alafu unajua how you relate with people is key. So for myself, I'm a person who goes out. So meaning to open, naongea na kila msee. So napata the day that I got saved, ama when I actually became a serious person in Christianity, tunakumbuka high school, mtu alikuwa anaokoka kila rally. Ikikamuna, unaona, unaokoka. But now when I became serious with my life in Christ, una realize that you know, it's like when I accepted Christ, I declared enmity with my friends who are not saved. So they look at you as someone who is different. You know, they do not want to relate with you. I was giving an example siku ingine that is a friend of mine recently, I think in February, alinipigia simu, but he had called a different Hassan. So apparently akanipigia. So kunipigia was a very good friend of mine. We used to do all sorts of things together. Tulikuwa tunaenda tunalewana yeye zamani. So unapata when he calls me, nikapick, nikamshow ni aje bro. Akaniambia kwani nimepick? Wewe uliokoka. So you see the kind of notion that he's bringing out is that since you got saved, you've literally become a reject to them. So hawakuoni kama wewe ni mtu wa maana. So conversation ikaishia hapa na akakata simu. So to some point, kama Mkristo na honest umekuwa, you've been friends for over 5-6 years. So unapata that there is a point that utasikia yenyewe this is not easy. It's a challenge. Una feel hii imeku. But the truth is that as a youth kuna hiyo nini tuna face. That when we've proclaimed Christ, unapata now the world has to retaliate.
Great. Estelle, maybe what's your take on the same?
Yeah, but I think it's so true, yeah. Being young and a Christian is a different dynamic. Mazi unafikiria tu venye, first of all, kuna kuanga na hii notion church, mazi akuna kujibamba, and you know, first of all, when you're from the other world, you know, every Friday, mazi, you're happening. Every Thursday, mshajipanga. Unajua, ulikuwa campus, unajua tu, Wednesday, hakuna classes from Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, kind. Sunday ndio tunakuja kusamehewa dhambi. Monday, let's do this again. Yeah. And just shifting from that to now this other side is not only just a shift of your habits. It's the way you think. It's the way you think about fun. It's the way you think about friends. It's the way you think about life, generally. So zile vitu ziko zinakuleta happiness when just God comes to you and you accept Christ in your heart, they just no longer bring that happiness. You notice the gaps. And that's why the Bible would say that the gospel is foolishness to people who don't see what you see. Yeah? Because you notice those gaps. And those things no longer bring you happiness. But the things that bring you happiness were the things, ukiwa the other side, ulikuwa unasema cheki ni kukatia. Yeah? But I don't want to digress from the topic of suffering. Kwa sababu hapo nimedigress kabisa. So that's what I picked from Hassan. You know, that's some type of suffering. I don't want to be insensitive. God has a lot of grace for that. I think for all of us who just got born again and we had to live our old lives, we were like, yeah, you know what? Because the devil, nah, we can't do this anymore. And it was I don't want to say easy, but there was so much strength and grace. I don't know about you guys, but there was so much strength and grace to actually navigate to the other life. Yeah, it was so true. Yeah, but just bringing suffering in the context of you're a Christian, these things should have been easier for you to handle. Maybe your parents leaving you would have been easier for you to handle. Your sister leaving you should have been easier for you to handle. You lacking a job would have been easier for you to handle. But the fact that you're a Christian doesn't mean that these things don't come to you. They do. Yeah. I'm telling you, they do. There are guys who have died of coronavirus right now, and they were Christians. That's suffering. There are people who have lost their loved ones right now, and they are Christians. And it was unforeseen. But how do you handle that as a young person? How do you handle the fact that you have to go out there and represent Christ? Hakuna hongo. Na kila msee anapeana hongo. Msee. Bana, ati sijui nataka ID mpya nini, unaambiwa enda kwa chief. Unaenda kwa chief unapatiwa letter. This is my experience. Unaenda unapatiwa letter. Unaambiwa nini yako haina stamp ya this date. Unarudi tena. In all that while, they're just looking for a way that you give them like 200 or 300 shillings. Ndio aka kitu kaishe. And that's suffering, man. And we still have to stand with the gospel. We still have to stand with the truth that these things we will not do. And we are still young. We still have to stand with, hey, Mazay, I won't follow this political leader because of, I don't know why people follow political leaders. But I will not do that because this does not stand with my principles. And that brings a whole other dynamic of suffering. Or, you know, I lost somebody so close to me, but I will not let that hold my whole life back. I will not let that hold me back. Because just believing that God is with you even that time. You see, unaona hizo dynamics za kusafa. Mazee ni mob juu.
Yes.
So I don't know where you want us to really go, because we can go to places. So just tell us, which suffering do you want us to talk about? Which one?
I'll let you know, but let me hear the perspective maybe of Jeff first, and then
I think picking from STL, suffering is wider because you realize that you know, everyone of us here attests to the fact that you know, you went through this, she went through you know, whichever kind of a suffering, he went through his own kind of suffering, and therefore you realize that to some extent it also crushes the body and the spirit. I've seen people, you know, who went through you know, a heartbreak, and they've come to a point where they hate men completely. There are, you know, men who went through different kind of heartbreaks, and they hate women literally. You see, you also find people who've been who lost parents when they were, you know, toddlers. They've grown up and they are kind of discouraged because they didn't get the right foundation, you know, whether it means you know, getting the right values or just getting the right support system. So they are kind of, you know, challenged in some ways, and therefore you realize everyone, you know, and you see the interesting thing with God is that he has a way of balancing our individual lives. That's why, to me, for instance, I happened to lose my parent, my mother, who was my single mom when I was very young. And, probably, somebody looks at my life and he's like, maybe I always think everything is going on well with you. But I've went through, different kind of challenges, and it could be different to you. But what I might also like to add is that, even Jesus himself acknowledges that, actually, he said categorically that in this world you will always have trouble. He says that the poor you will always have amongst you. But the good thing is, he says in John 10:10, that I've come to give you life in abundance. That the thief cometh to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I've come to give you life and life in abundance. So Jesus himself, he was sent by the Father to come redeem the whole world back to himself. But he's announcing that there's going to be trouble in the world, but he's also saying that through me I've come to give you life in abundance. So as much as we are going through suffering, we could be going through suffering, we are going to go through suffering. COVID-19 is just one of the many probably that we are going to experience. Because the Bible in Matthew 24 promises that there's going to be a lot of wars even prior to Jesus coming the second time. So this is just a shadow maybe of, the greater pandemics that might come in future. And we rest, in Jesus Christ, knowing that through him we have life.
Amen. Now, back to Gracie a little bit. Maybe what helped you endure that period which you went through? Maybe there is somebody out there and they have the same, maybe they are going through the same challenge. What helped you really like go through that, endure that moment, and come out now the way you are, good and smiling?
Okay. At first, actually, I didn't seek help from church because, according to me, nilikuwa sawa. Sikuwa nime-accept, I'm okay. So I'd say the first step is accepting that you're not okay. I am going through this and I need help. So if you ask, let's say, our parents or our friends, you can find out that if you have good friends, they will tell you to go to church or to look for a pastor or maybe to become a therapist. So personally, I got friends who told me to go to a pastor. So that's when I made the realization that I was just a Christian by name, but not by action. I just decided to give Jesus another chance. And nilikuwa na hii, after that nilikuwa na hii kutulia yenye sikuwa naelewa. Ile tu ni kama Mungu how will I say it? Yeah. Thank you. You have that peace that haujui imetoka wapi, but it comes from God.
Yeah.
So since then, the fact that, like, okay, I'm trying to say Christians, we have like different levels. Like kuna mtu sasa, like how Stella said, ukiwa umetoka huko nje ukikuja hapa kuna level lazima utaanzia ukipanda juu. So we should be patient with that because it is so easy to fall ukiwa hapa chini urudi back to world yenye umetoka. So you need a guide. Hapo ndio mimi naweza anza kuambia mtu, you need a guide, mtu ata keep up na wewe ukianza sasa Christianity. Kwa sababu it is so easy to fall out. So that guide anakuhelp each and every day. You be open to that person and also you be truthful to yourself. Kwa sababu kosa ku accept wewe mwenyewe hakuna mali unaenda actually. So you accept, then you be truthful to yourself and to the person who's guiding you. Yeah, and it will really help.
STL, Stella. I'm used to kuita STL. So, like, to you, what's maybe the kind of challenge or suffering that affects you most, maybe spiritually or emotionally or physically? Maybe to you.
Wow, to me. I love to belong. And I think it's just a basic human need. I love to feel accepted or loved. And so any suffering that looks like rejection or looks like we don't want to hear, or "Oh, unakuanga hivi, no unakuanga hivi, no unakuanga hivi," or the one that makes you feel like there's the normal world and then there's your world. Let me just explain. Like, in the normal world, everything is running simple. Everybody is having everything being provided for. They have, chips, cuckoo, just to say things that people have. But you are lacking these things. That's suffering. Yeah. Because that inhibits you from even just the confidence of belonging. And I think that for some time has always brought some suffering to me. Yeah, so that's
And
that.
I can recall you saying that when you got saved, you passed through something. Maybe you can help us understand it better. Maybe suffering for Christ. There is that aspect, right?
Yeah. I think one of the major things that Paul was teaching us is that the fact that friendship with God is enmity with the world. That is something that is very clear. And we can see throughout Paul's experience, he was actually going through a lot of things. The apostles were experiencing a lot of persecution. And the encouragement that Paul was actually giving us was that even though we are going through these challenges, we need to stand strong in our faith. That's why Paul says that everybody has a race. And in this race, we have to complete. And when we finish the race, yeah, for him, he says that I have run the race and I have finished and I've kept the faith. So it means that in your experience with God or in your walk with God, there is this fact that you are going to have a challenge of your faith. You see, if we can go back to Luke 24:31, or I think 35, it talks of Christ coming to Simon and tells him, Simon, Simon, the devil desires to sift you as wheat. And when we look at those words that Christ was saying, he was trying to tell him that the devil wants ni kama kupepeta ngano, anataka kukupepeta kama ngano. So the devil desires to sift you as wheat. Then Christ amwambia ndakutoa kwa hiyo shida. He tells him, but I pray for you. You see? So it doesn't tell him that I'm going to take you to take the trouble from you. Shetani atakupepeta. He's going to work on you properly. Then he tells him that, but I pray for you. That when you go through this, you will strengthen the brethren. You see? So it tells you that Christ understood that there has to be the challenge, there has to be the suffering, there has to be the persecution. Unaona? Then to make it even better for me is that Christ tells him that it is the devil who is going to sift you. But you see, if you look at sifting of wheat, ni kutoa uchafu. Ni kama venye si upepeta nini maharagwe, ikitoa uchafu ama whatever. So the devil himself thinks that he's actually putting you into so much suffering. But the end result that you're going to come out with is that he's actually taking all the problems. He's taking all the chaff. Nona. He's taking all the bad things from you. And he's actually making you a better person, not knowing. So I think when suffering comes as a Christian, when you're being persecuted because of Christ, because of your stand of faith, I think it's something good because at the end of it, you're the one who's going to strengthen the brethren. Kama venye tu Simon aliambiwa, after you've gone through, you're going to strengthen the brethren.
Thank you very much for watching us. We are blessed. Naona comment zenyu. Thank you. If you have any question, we'll answer it. We'll have the second session of this conversation. Follow Deliverance Church at the River in YouTube, Deliverance Church at the River, Facebook, Deliverance Church International at the River, Instagram, IG, Deliverance Church International at the River. And kindly, in YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Be blessed. We love you. Thank you.